Train by day, Kyle Wigginton podcast by night, all day.
Rosie Tran. How you say it?
Yes.
Cool. Welcome to the podcast. You don't live here, do you?
I'm back and forth a lot. I'm mostly in Los Angeles, but I'm in New Orleans like 20 to 30% of the year.
Yeah. I see you when you're around sometimes. You're here hitting the open mic and stuff. Comedian.
Yes.
Comedian, podcaster, what else? Actor?
Actress, I don't know, personality person, model, miscellaneous, etc., etc.
Definitely a huge personality. I can give you that. Yeah. Even I remember you did Pickles podcast. That's how I first met you. On the podcast, you said Pickles' name really loud or something, and I was like, "We're using this for the intro." Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard it or not. Did you hear it? Yeah,
I did see it on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. We so I used you as the intro. It was great. Yeah. So I saw you have like 10 different podcasts.
I do have a lot of podcasts. So my main podcast is Out of the Box Podcast with Rosie Tran. And I started that one because I actually was depressed from stand-up. So I've been doing stand-up for 22 years and my career has been very up and down. So I started podcasting as like an escape from stand-up. And my podcast is not a comedy podcast. It's just out of the box thinkers, personalities, like whoever. I've interviewed porn stars, Nobel Peace Prize nominees. So just all out of the box, like non-mainstream thinking people. And then I have a crypto podcast called Hello Crypto Kitty 2.0, which I actually started with comedian Esther Koo, but then she kind of fell off. So it's just me now kind of doing crypto news here and there. I have another podcast called Rosie and BJ Save the World, which is a political podcast. It's just a limited series. My friend BJ is a socialist and I'm a libertarian. And so we kind of talk about politics.
Libertarian.
Are you libertarian? Yeah. So we talk about politics and what we have in common and not what is divisive, because
Absolutely.
I think there's too much divisiveness and not enough bipartisanship. Even though socialism and libertarianism are like on the outskirts, but I feel like actually 40% of Americans are independents. So a lot of people don't know that. Everyone thinks it's Republican, Democrat, but people vote Republican, Democrat because those are the only two options.
Yeah,
but 40% of Americans consider themselves independent and detest the two-party system. And then I have another podcast called Stupid Sexy Privacy, and that's a privacy podcast. And then I have one more podcast called Dirty Change with Tommy Pistol. He's an adult film star. And I grew up very virginal and religious. And so I didn't know that much about sex. And he's kind of like teaching me. I mean, I'm obviously 40 and have learned since then, but he's kind of teaching me, about the porn world and the sex world. And so,
which is totally different from actual sex.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's I think fun. I'm kind of the comic relief, like ditzy. Not that I'm ditzy, but just because Tommy is so well versed in sex, that I'm kind of like the comic relief, because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, where do you find time? Because this right here takes up a lot of my time. Just doing this one podcast, I don't see how you do 5 different podcasts, especially over such a broad subject range.
Well, so most of my podcasts are limited podcast series. So the sex podcast I did with Tommy, it was a 5 podcast limited series that we did over COVID because the porn industry was shut down and Tommy was bored out of his mind. But it's still on YouTube, and we were interviewed in Hustler, and we got a lot of really positive press because it's a sex positive podcast. Stupid Sexy Privacy was sponsored by DuckDuckGo, which is a privacy browser, and that was a limited series as well. I think we did 5 or 10 episodes. I can't remember.
What is that one about?
It's about protecting your data online. So a lot of people don't realize that the biggest threat to basically, like, everyone's so scared of like AI and all this other stuff, but really it's our privacy. Like, they're taking our data and making tons of money on it, which is fine if they pay us. But they're not. Right. They're just like stealing our data. A lot of companies, all the big tech companies are basically stealing our data and reselling it, repurposing it, and doing all sorts of things with it, where everyone's on a list. It's pretty crazy. It sounds like conspiracy theory stuff, but I mean, this is like documented part of the like Information Acts, Freedom of Information Acts, and all the other acts. Anytime there's terrorism or COVID or anything happens, the government is like, oh, we can steal more data.
Or non-vaxxers or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a list for all these things out there.
There's a list for everything. And it's actually, it's actually worse than like Nazi Germany, because now everything's digital. So it's actually easier to make lists. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of scary, but yeah, it definitely, you sound like a conspiracy theorist, but all this is like documented. Anyone who knows IT stuff is like, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's me. I have a degree in IT.
Yeah.
So yeah, like all these things, and even the crypto, like involved in that too. But crypto space, I use DuckDuckGo actually.
Yeah.
As my browser.
That's how you know you're an IT person.
Yeah.
DuckDuckGo, Signal, crypto. So anyone who's like super into privacy, I was a socialist for a long time, and then I fell into the libertarian rabbit hole, mostly through crypto, and now I'm like full-fledged.
See, I didn't even know, like, because I'm so like far removed from politics, all of it. I hate politics with a passion, but whenever they shut down the world during COVID, I was like, okay, let me look into this. So for the entire year that this bar was shut down, I had nothing to do. All I did was research it.
Yeah.
And I basically found out that, yeah, the government's the problem. It's really Congress is the problem. So started kind of designing little solutions for that. And that's where I got into the crypto space, because I was like, this is an awesome space. So like to design a new form of government here.
Yes. I'm like super into crypto. My nickname's the Crypto Kitty, and I fell into it. I didn't know anything about crypto. I'm not a super tech person. Actually, the first 2 years I was into crypto, I kept reading about it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm too stupid for this. I'll never understand it. And then something happened where I just kept researching it and kept reading about it. And it like clicked in my brain. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is actually really easy and makes sense.
I mean, don't you think that's everything in life though?
I think yes, probably. But with crypto, there's so much jargon. And I think there are people that kind of get off on feeling smarter than other people and using a lot of crypto jargon. And I think there's a lot of IT nerds in the crypto space who I think do get off on pretending like they're like super smart and above everyone.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a problem. But yeah, I mean, and also there are a lot of scammers in the crypto space so that are like trying to sell you on some like butt coin. Mm-hmm. So I think that does muddy the water.
Yeah.
But if you actually follow like some of the main people, Michael Saylor, Anthony Pompliano, if you actually like read Digital Gold or whatever the book is from, I'm going to mess up his name. He's like, has a long like Greek name.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, but it's like, if you read any of these like they break it down very basic. And I like that.
Yeah. So the first people that introduced me to crypto, it was a girl that had an NFT project that blew up and made her millions of dollars. Those were my friends. And she didn't even understand how the space worked. Yeah, she was basically one of those people that just got in right off the bat, and someone used her to create this the art for it. Yeah. And then she made a ton of money. And I was asking her about it. We were all sitting on the rooftop one night chatting, and it was me and her and another of our friends. And one of our friends built a mining machine. He was actually mining crypto for us. So we all put it in and did that. And then I was just up there picking their brain one night because I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. I just gave them money. I was like, yeah, make a mining machine. Yeah, give me one of these NFTs. And then I was asking them about like what it actually is. And they were like saying all the jargon and stuff. And I was like, you don't even know what you're talking about, do you? And they were like, oh yeah, we know what we're talking about. I was like, explain it to me like I'm 3.
That's what I love. That's what I do on Hello Crypto Kitty. I explain it like I'm going to get canceled, a retard.
Yeah. But it's what you need. It's such a new technology and complex technology that yes, you need to explain it to people like they're dumb. And they couldn't do that to me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go do my own research.
Yeah.
And when I finally did my own research, I was like, dude, this is awesome. This is an amazing platform, but it is so far advanced from what we're using right now that they're gonna have to make GUIs and stuff for it to make it where people are usable.
Well, here's the thing too, is you actually don't need to know anything about it to use it, because it's like the internet in the 90s. In the 90s, to understand the internet, you had to like know how to code.
Right.
And now you just, whatever, you click on stuff. There's www.rosietran.com. Before it was like a long URL, like there was no redirects, there was no, domain names you could buy. And so all we need is just interface development.
GUIs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Graphical user interfaces. Yeah. So like, that's the whole thing with the internet. Yeah. Cause my grandma wouldn't know how to use it in the 90s, but then she knew how to use it whenever it advanced to such a level. So basically I think.
Or simplified to such a level.
Simplified. Yeah. Well, I mean,
advanced to simplification.
Yeah. Advanced through the years to simplification. Yeah. There you go. But yeah, no, it just needs to be built on. That's all it is. The platform needs to be built on.
And they're building apps. They're building crypto apps that are making it really easy, like where you can just touch something and click something and send, lightning through the Lightning Network and other things like that. So I think that once that develops, which probably will take 5 or 10 more years, then people get it. I mean, money is basically touchless and completely digital in China and in other countries like that. So because we're kind of dealing with old infrastructure, because in the US, we're like actually an older country, but a lot of those countries that were third world countries, they're starting to now gentrify and develop with all the new technology. So all of our stuff here is like kind of old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't there one that's already using Bitcoin for payments? Like a country that's already using Bitcoin?
I know some South American countries are using it. What is the big, what was the country where the president adopted it as like
is it Venezuela? I don't know.
It's not Venezuela. There's one country in South America that the president adopted Bitcoin as the national currency.
Yeah, I knew I heard that. I just don't know the names. I don't know anyone's names or anything that's going on. I know that things are happening, but I'm like, Like
El Salvador. Okay.
El Salvador. Yeah.
In El Salvador. Yes. So there's like Bitcoin beaches in El Salvador. Everyone takes it. I actually don't think it's a good currency. I like to transfer stuff into USD because Bitcoin keeps going up. So it's more like you want to use it as a savings account.
Yeah. Keep your money in there. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Just have an investment. The one that I do use though is Monero.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a privacy coin, right?
Whenever I'm trying to buy things that I don't want people to know about.
Monero's a big privacy coin. The scary thing about crypto is that the government is very anti-crypto because they're
control.
Well, not just control, but the USD is the world reserve currency right now. So the US government does not want the USD to lose its purchasing power as the world reserve currency.
It's only a matter of time.
And that is what is really scary to the misinformation that's being spread. Because there's a lot of misinformation. Like so many people still think crypto is a scam. So many people still think, crypto is like digital, gamer money. They don't really understand what it is.
But the misinformation's on purpose though.
Yes.
Like all this stuff is just propaganda.
It's really bad. And it made me really sad because there was a lot of politicians that I really liked. Like I really liked Elizabeth Warren. And then she was so anti-crypto. And I was like, why is she so anti-crypto? And then I started doing research online and she's like funded by a lot of big banks. And I was like, oh, why Elizabeth Warren? Why?
Yeah. That's the problem right there. See, like I said, I started researching crypto and then started designing systems on paper. They're not actually designed in the space yet, but they're on paper. And one of them is a new form of government. And I think it would be great over the blockchain. Like it would actually function great on there. I also designed one for musicians that allows them to retain all the rights to their music and grow their platform around them with NFTs. So a lot of people think NFTs are just scam too, but no, there's actually things you can do with NFTs that are very beneficial to artists.
It's very beneficial. So for those of you who are watching, who are like, what the heck are you guys talking about? So you can have like a QR code that authenticates something with an NFT and you can get a percentage of a profit, for example, on your music or your art forever. So right now, the way the system works is you're a musician. It's getting a little bit better with like the internet, but the old school system is basically you're a musician. You had no power whatsoever. You would sign with a record company. The record company would take 90% of your profits. They would say, bend over and take it and you'd be screwed. Now with the internet, you can do some type of profit sharing with like different websites and things like that, where you self-publish and you retain some rights to your music. With NFTs, you would be the mint and the author of that music. And that QR code would allow you to track through the blockchain who's purchasing your music. And you would get a residual income on that every single purchase of your music or your art or whatever. And so this decentralized way of dealing with things puts more power into the artists and less power into the corporations or powers that be or government or whatever. And so it's really, really scary to a lot of people that make a lot of money telling us to bend over and take it. And so that's why there's so much misinformation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those are the same people that control the media too. So of course they're not going to tell you how great crypto is.
Yeah. Crypto is amazing. So yeah, do research.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Is ETH your favorite or you like Bitcoin or like which, do you have a favorite coin? I like ETH as a platform.
So I was a big Tezos girl. And so Tezos is a smart contract platform / coin, just like ETH. And it's a lot faster. But Solana and all these other coins are competitors and they've had so much more development that they're kind of taking over. And the problem, so ETH is the original smart contract platform and it's going to change everything from real estate to whatever, anything that needs a contract, because what happens is you can break things up now into like little pieces, which a lot of people don't understand. So like before, let's say you wanted to buy an apartment building, you would need $500,000 to buy that apartment building. But now you can break it into like 1,000 different fractional shares and then coin it and you can own it. So that way, if you want to invest in real estate, for example, you can invest in a property without having $500,000 or without getting approved for the bank for, $450,000 and having the $50,000 down payment. And so because of Ether having this smart contract, all these miniature contracts are in there. And so I can make a contract with like 1,000 people or whatever and micro decentralize that investment. And so I love Ether because it's the OG original, smart contract platform. But Solana and a lot of other coins are giving it a big run for the money. So we'll see what happens. And a lot of these coins too are building on the back of the Ether network. So we'll see what happens. I'm obviously a huge Bitcoin person. I like every Bitcoin person has a story about when I should have. Right. What I did actually know about it when it was, I wasn't like OG when it was like 20 cents, but I did know about it when it was like 100, 200. And
you got in then?
I did, but trust me, I'm not as rich as I should be. Right. I got in a little bit of money. And then when it went up to 5,000, I put more in, and obviously I put money in, but if I would have, obviously everyone has if I would have known now what I knew then, I would have like sold every single thing I owned and just poured every single dollar into Bitcoin. So no, I'm not a secret billionaire, but
at least you weren't the guy that bought a pizza with like his Bitcoin or whatever for like 50 Bitcoin or some shit like that.
Oh my God. I have a friend who was gifted 1,000 Bitcoin when it was like a couple cents. He was at a porn convention. He's a friend of mine through the porn industry. And this like nerdy guy came up to him and was like, wanted some videos. I don't know, like wanted an autograph from one of the girls or something, and gifted him and said it was going to gift him 1,000 Bitcoin for it. And it was worth like $5 or whatever. And my friend said, no, thanks. And then years later, he found a notebook where he had written it down because the guy's like, research it. And then he looked at it and he was like, oh my God.
My thing is, how did the people back then know that Bitcoin was going to be a big thing?
I don't think they did. I mean, I don't.
You think it was just like a fun thing for them?
It was just a fun thing. Like, why would that guy give away 1,000 Bitcoin? You know what I mean? So it was just such a, like, even when Coinbase started, they were giving 1 free Bitcoin away to sign up for Coinbase. So like people just didn't know that it was even Coinbase, like they're the biggest, most corporate Bitcoin crypto dealer, right? Broker dealer. And they were giving away 1 free Bitcoin to sign up for Coinbase.
The real question is, do you think it's going to go up higher than it is right now?
Yes. Absolutely. There's only 21 million. It's capped. Half of it's lost to stupid people. I mean, they say there's only 21 million Bitcoin, but if you think about it, probably there's less than that because there's the guy that had 100,000 Bitcoin on his laptop and threw his laptop in the dumpster in London or whatever. And he's been digging through the trash can for 5 years. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, no, I've heard the story. It's crazy.
There's a poor guy who's been digging through the trash can, the trash dumpsters in London for the past 5 years, looking for his $100 million or whatever it's worth now. There was a woman who actually became super rich on Bitcoin on accident. So she was doxxed and her data was hacked and kidnapped, and the guys were like, we will give you your data back if you send us like 2,000 Bitcoin. And she didn't know what Bitcoin was. And so she didn't do it right. So she actually bought 2,000 Bitcoin, sent them the 1,000 Bitcoin. She had 1,000 Bitcoin in her wallet, but she forgot about it because she didn't know what it was. Yeah. They unblackmailed her and sent her data back. And then like 10 years later, she was like, oh yeah, I have all this Bitcoin. And she went back and she was like, oh, I'm
Jesus
rich.
Christ.
So it was like, but there's a lot of lost Bitcoin too. I mean, I lost not Bitcoin. I lost, what is the coin that is not even a big deal anymore that was considered the silver of, so Bitcoin's considered gold and what was considered silver. It was, oh my God, I'm like losing my mind.
I don't know. It's not Doge.
It's not Doge. It was like for a while, it was like really big and then it just,
Doge, Shiba, Litecoin. Okay.
So Litecoin for a while was considered like Bitcoin was considered the gold and Litecoin was considered silver. I had some Litecoin, not much, but like $1,000, like that's a lot in a wallet. And I always tell people crypto is the most secure currency in the world and it's the most secure currency in the world. So that's a positive and a negative. The positive is no one can hack your wallet without your keys. The negative is if you forget your keys, you're effed. And I like misplaced my private keys, couldn't get into the wallet, hired a hacker. My husband's also in IT. We couldn't break it in. So we lost $1,000, but it's the positive and the negative. The positive is it's literally the most secure currency. The negative is it's literally the most secure currency. So don't lose your keys.
I mean, you're hanging on to the wallet though, right? Just in case.
I have the wallet, but I don't think that. I think that $1,000 is lost.
Could be a breakthrough. You never know. Never know. I mean, hang on to it. Don't give it away. Yeah.
I mean, it's sitting there on the little, in the little hard drive.
It's smart that you actually have it in a hard wallet too.
Yeah.
Or cold wallet, I guess, cold storage. Yeah, because there's some people that keep it on the exchanges, which is a no-no.
Yeah.
It's just all these little things that people need to learn about it, but like everyone has life to deal with.
Yeah.
So when it comes to learning new systems like this, you almost have to learn them from like day one. So I think that it's going to take the dying off of all the old people too to bring about the new system.
I talk about it all the time. I'm like, once all these old people die, sorry, mom. Sorry, grandpa's out there. It's definitely, the world is going to change dramatically, especially with all the AI. I mean, all the technology that's coming is like insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like we're almost coming to like a point in time where you don't know what's going to happen because there's just so many different new technologies that are being created. It's
like the new industrial revolution. Like, I don't think it's going to be like the Jetsons, but it's going to kind of like be like the Jetsons.
If we make it out. That's my concern too, because I watch a lot of podcasts and they're talking about like the doom and gloom aspect of where we're at right now in like the cycles of history. And they say that, it's cool all the stuff we're making, but we're also entering into a time where people aren't having kids, and it's a big part of the because we live in cities, and in cities it's the struggle for survival is keeping people from actually making babies and shit. So like they don't even know if we're gonna make it through this phase.
I am very optimistic. I think that I have a lot of confidence in the human spirit. I do think there's a lot of idiots out there, but I also have confidence in the trailblazers and the thinkers. And I think that it's just going to be a turning over, and like maybe like a light rinse. Like God needs to rinse out some old things. And I think new things are going to emerge. So I don't think I think that we're survivors as a species.
Absolutely. I mean, someone will survive. I'll tell you that. But I mean, like, what do you think the rinsing out is going to be? Like, what do you think that is?
So I think, the most crazy thing that people don't understand is technology is not just technology. Like people are like, oh, the technology has changed so much and this and that. It's actually exponentially changing things. So if you look at the history of human history, change was really slow. Like if you look at someone's life in like 1500 and 1700, which is a 200-year difference, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
It's like you have a kid, maybe you die in childbirth and you're on your like second wife or something. You're struggling to get food. It's like pretty much the same life. But if you take a look at 1890 and 1990, it's like crazy different.
Yeah.
And so what technology does is it exponentially increases the rate of change. And so anytime there's a new technology, like even just like the steam engine, like that completely changed everything, right? So anytime there's something new, the computer, that completely changed everything. And so anytime there's something new, it just exacerbates it so much more quickly. And so we have no idea how things are going to look in 5 years. Like a lot of people are so worried about AI. AI is already here. It's here in your phone. You know, when you're on Instagram and you're talking about something and the ad pops up and you're like, crap, I was just talking about this. This is creepy. The AI is here. It's not, the Optimus robot that Elon is creating. It's actually an army of robots in server rooms in, Switzerland or wherever the server rooms are. And so people don't understand, like, it's already here, and people that are like, I'm so scared of AI. I'm like, you're already being controlled by AI on your phone. Don't worry.
I love AI. It's made my life so much easier. AI has already.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. Like we're right here basically creating a radio show. I know it's not radio, it's podcasting, but this would have never been possible 15 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So I use AI several times in just like producing this podcast. I use it to edit the audio after the podcast is done. I use it to make all of my metadata for YouTube. And it actually goes in and cuts me shorts now too. So I generate short clips.
I get shorts on AI, and also they do the closed captioning.
Yeah, closed captioning on AI. I also, before you even got here, I was using ChatGPT on my phone to research upgrades for the podcast. So I'm going to switch to a 3-camera system, and it's crazy. You can ask AI, like, this is my laptop. This is my setup. What do I need to switch to a 3-camera system? And it'll tell you every little thing. And if you're like, okay, but what about this aspect of it? It's like, yeah, you don't need to do that. It's almost like talking to a human already.
But not just that, it's smarter than a human because it's taking all of the information in the entire world and putting it in your hand. And that's what people don't understand, because before that, you'd have to go to the library. You'd have to research it. It would take you like a couple weeks. You'd have to like test it out. If it didn't work, you'd have to test out the other system. And so that's what people don't understand that are so afraid of AI. It's like, it's actually here to take care of the bullshit that we don't want to deal with so that we can spend time doing what humans do best. And that's being really, really creative and like creating. I mean, it's just an amazing time.
What gives you your time back? Like before I used AI to do this, I was doing it all manually, and it would take me 5 to 10 hours a week extra to do these things. But now it takes me like an hour to do all of it, and I'm done.
Yeah.
So it gives me all that free time back. But that also brings me back to my point is a lot of the pushback that I get from telling people about AI is from the older population. And I think that it's going to take them
Dying off. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, the scientists say it too. They say that science moves forward one funeral at a time. That's a real saying. So I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, I think it's just like that's the nature of human beings. Like when you get to a certain age, it's hard for the neuroplasticity to kick back in.
Well, to answer your original question, because I went off on a tangent, I'm actually very optimistic, and I'm not doom and gloom about all that stuff, because I feel like, as I mentioned, the technology is going to move exponentially, and we're going to change in ways that we don't even realize. Like there's going to be changes that occur that you and I can't even physically imagine at this moment. Like,
you mean like changes in the human physiology?
I think just changes in how society does things.
Okay.
The human physiology is sadly the most far behind. So we're still working off of like an operating system from like the thousands, like the 1100s.
Yeah.
But we're in a society in the 2020s. So it's really bad. So the way that manifests is a lot of people get anxiety, they get fear, they have a lot of like, there's a lot of mental health issues and stuff like that. And that is a fight or flight response from back in the day. So back in the day, we're hanging out, you and I are hanging out in the tribe, a tiger comes up and we're like stressed. We're like, oh shit, this tiger's going to kill us. That is a very primitive response. Well, now what happens is, you know, your phone dings and you're like half an hour late to an appointment, and you're getting that same adrenaline rush as if a tiger is going to kill you, and your body is stressed and the cortisol is released. But guess what? It's just like your phone's pinging.
Right.
And so people have all sorts of stress and anxiety, but it's not rational. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because back in the day, if the tiger came to kill us, we'd be dead.
Right.
So that's why we had that stress and anxiety. But now it's like your phone is ringing or whatever, or you're getting a text or someone's sending a notification and you're getting that dopamine rush and you're feeling stressed, but it's not going to kill you. Nothing's going to happen.
You think it's just because people don't live very hard lives?
I think it's because it's hardwired and we haven't evolved yet.
Well, so I get up and I go work out every day strenuously.
Yeah.
And I think that gives me the ability to control my hormone, my cortisol levels. Because when I'm working out, I'm also meditating back down. Get stressed, meditate down. Get stressed, meditate down. So even when something in life does stress me out, I just kind of meditate back down and I'm good. So I think it's a control thing. People need to learn how to control their physiology better. I don't think we're taught that in school and stuff. We're not taught how to control these things. That's why people take pills.
The school system is from the 1900s, honey. The school system was created by John D. Rockefeller to get, complacent workers for the factories. So, I mean, if you look at the public school system, the history of the public school system, it was created to have compliant workers for the system. And so school doesn't teach anything that's helpful. It doesn't teach psychology. It doesn't teach, like you said, like mental health awareness, things like that. Those are things that you actually use in life.
Mm.
I haven't used a quadratic equation in 25 years.
Well, yeah, I haven't used that either. Yeah. And then when you do have those issues, what do? They give you a pill now rather than just saying, let's work through this issue. Let's teach you how to actually control the physiology rather than take a pill.
But the crazy thing is we have all that knowledge. We have all the knowledge. It's here. It's on ChatGPT. We have the knowledge of how to solve all the world's problems right now in 2024, but it's not taught.
You have to have the desire to go get it too.
You have to find it for yourself.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that there are a lot of people that are around me that want to do things. And I'm like, then go fucking do it. But they just want to talk about it. They don't actually want to do it. It's even like this podcast, like you're doing your podcast stuff. You're actually doing things. There's so many people that are like, I want to start a podcast. And it's like, well,
do it.
Yeah. Like literally you have all this knowledge at your phone. You have Amazon that'll send you anything you need to buy. And it's all cheap shit too now. Like you can get this whole setup right here. Besides that was pretty expensive, but these mics and things, and you can get a podcast setup for like $150. Like you can get cheap shit and actually do things and then just upgrade from there. This
is the scariest thing, is that we're actually in the matrix. And the only thing holding you back is the way you think. And nobody wants to take responsibility for that. Everyone wants to blame someone else and say, oh, I can't, or make up an excuse. But we actually are in the matrix. Like you actually can do anything that you put your mind to.
So that's an interesting point. Do you think that the people that are doing things are the actual players in the Matrix, and the people that are saying
NPCs? Hell yeah.
Yeah, you think they're NPCs? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really scary. Sometimes I think people in my life are NPCs. I'm like, okay, you've told me the story 500 times already.
Yes. That drives me insane.
You have the friend that tells the same story. You're like, okay, you've already told me this over and over again. Or they talk about the same stuff over and over again. You're like, are you an NPC? Like, are you actually a real person?
See, when I come across people like that, I just start messing with them. Like I have like a lot of wild theories in my head, and I'll just start telling them the wild theories, and they'll go into shutdown mode because it's almost like they can't think outside of the box. Like I have my set programming, and if you start saying things that are way out here, then I just have to go in shutdown mode.
Or some of them get really defensive. They'll get very upset and like, well, you can't do that. And then they'll start arguing. I call it for their own smallness, which is really sad.
Like what kind of stuff would they get mad about that you say?
So me explaining crypto, talking about certain out of the box things, like I said, I've had so many, interesting people on my podcast. I've had people talking about like non-monogamy, polyamory. I've had people talking about, like I said, like crypto, just all sorts of outside the box systems. And it doesn't mean that I ascribe to every single outside the box system, but I like to talk about it. I like to talk about
learn.
like different things. Like I had Chris Ryan on my podcast, who he wrote a book called Sex at Dawn. And he argues that monogamy is a man-made created structure, and that actually we're meant to have multiple partners, male and female. And I've had men and women tell me, well, that's disgusting. Like, so you're basically a hoe. And, that doesn't mean that I prescribe to that, but I'm open to like discussing different ideas and stuff. And he actually uses a lot of scientific research in his book, Sex at Dawn, where he talks about how we're hardwired for sexual diversity and things like that. And actually that's part of Darwinism, is that, right, you want more. That's why all of the royals were like inbred and weird looking. Because they were just like all having sex with each other. And so he talks about being wired for non-monogamy. And so I've talked about that with people, and they get very upset. And of course, marriage is very important, and religion is very important to a lot of people. So that can be very upsetting to people.
I don't understand getting upset about it though. I'm very open when it comes to like, when it comes to new ideas. I have my own ideas on things, but at the same time, I'm always open to new information because I can change my ideas. I can't understand the people that get so solidified in things and they have to stay this route, especially like when it's something you were taught when you were a child. It's like I grew up in a Christian town. Okay, everyone there was Christian. At a very young age, I was already questioning things. I was like, then tell me why God did this, or tell me why Jesus did this. He just did. And if they couldn't explain why this thing happened, I was like, well, then I can't believe it.
Also, the thing that bothers me, so I'll just say right off the bat that I am a spiritual person. I am a religious person. But what bothers me the most about a lot of closed-minded religious people is that they're missing the whole point of the Bible. So like I'll have people that say, well, you can't say that, or you can't do that. And I'm like, did you read the Bible? Every single person in the Bible that God chooses is a person that's questioning. They're actually a person that's rebelling. Jesus is a rebel. That's why he was crucified. And so I get really irritated when people claim that they're religious and they're so close-minded, because everything in religious text is actually very open-minded if you read it. And the same thing with like, people are so close-minded. They're like, oh, well, the Bible says this or the Bible says that. I'm like, yeah, the Bible also says this, 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 and this. Like, there's a lot of shit in that book.
Yeah. I could never actually get through the Bible, but I did have a podcast one time with a preacher from my hometown. And I was trying to have just a conversational podcast like this. And he quoted the Bible, everything I said. Like he literally just said a Bible quote for everything. I was like, can you use your own words? And it just Bible quote.
Also, this is terrible. And I don't know who the preacher was, but I guarantee you he has not read the Bible all the way through from beginning to end, because I grew up very religious. I was locked in the closet and forced to read the Bible. And let me tell you, there's a lot of contradictory stuff in there.
Well, and I haven't either. So I couldn't question him on it, So I was just like, yeah, I got nothing to say to that.
But I mean, even in the Bible, people are always like, well, the Bible says, be fruitful and multiply. I'm like, well, how come Jesus didn't have any kids? So there's a lot of contradictory stuff in there, right?
Do you think that Jesus was an actual person, or do you think it's like a metaphor for like waking up the Christ consciousness?
So I think Christ consciousness is definitely, so whether you believe in God or not, whatever, I feel like all religions just are basically about don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
So I don't like when people are so like, well, the Bible says this, or, the Quran says this or whatever. It's like, the gist of it is don't be a dick. So if you go to church every Sunday, but you're an asshole.
Yeah. Defeating the purpose.
Exactly. So that doesn't make any sense. And if you've never gone to church, but you're like a super cool person, I think you're fine. So I think that is very annoying, is that people get so into the nitty gritty of it that they end up being super judgmental. And that's not the point of religion. The point of religion is to be a good person and be loving and try to have good karma, good, energy, be Christ-like, whatever. So I think that you could interpret it as having Christ-like energy and just being like a loving person. Or there's some people that believe that Christ was a physical person. I think he probably was a physical person and a historic figure. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like anyone. Well, I don't say I don't like it, but I think it's crazy that people choose one religion and stick with it. Like, learn them all. Like, there could be something in every religion. Take a piece of all of them and then and go from there. I don't do the organized religion thing. Never have. Never understood it. Yeah, I kind of have my own beliefs and have my own experiences that have really driven my beliefs, rather than just listening to what someone else has told me.
Yeah, I think that there definitely is a very controlled structure with religion, which I don't like. I think there was a lot of control that was used by the church, and I think that is a very negative part of religion. But I do think that if you have a good relationship with God or higher power or whatever, that's a very positive aspect.
So you think there actually is a higher power?
I do. And believe it or not, I was atheist for many years, and a physicist got me back into spirituality.
How did they do that?
So I was in college and I was very, very atheist. And I was dating a physicist, and I was like, how can you, and I was kind of being a bitch. And I was like, how can you be religious and be a physicist? Are you an idiot? And he was like, Rosie, physics is like basically like the study of nature, which is like the study of God and the universe. And I started doing a lot of research into metaphysics and physics. And pretty much like every physicist is very spiritual, except for Hawking. For some reason, he was like super atheist. But like, if you read a lot of stuff about Einstein, he talks about the energy of the earth. And he kind of sees that as God. And a lot of like, I watch a lot of physics videos from like different physicists. I don't know any of their names, but I nerd out on physicist videos on YouTube, and they talk a lot about it. And the way that they use the language of physics is very similar to religion. And I think that the Native Americans probably had it the most right, the way they were describing and understanding spirituality and religion, because it was very aligned with nature, which is very natural. And I think, chanting and having incense and going up and down and praying and doing Hail Marys is probably the furthest way to be close to God. Sorry, I'm probably offending someone, but I don't care. And I think probably being in nature and being out in the elements is probably the closest way to be actually close to God. I don't think God is a character in the sky or a man in the sky. I definitely think it's an energy, and I think we all have it. I've also done mushrooms and ayahuasca, so I feel like you can't do mushrooms and ayahuasca and not believe in God.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I haven't done ayahuasca yet, but I'm a huge fan of mushrooms. I've been microdosing now for years.
Come visit me. I'll take you on an ayahuasca retreat when they come.
Yeah, dude, I would love that. I'm serious. Like, I've actually thought about going somewhere and doing ayahuasca, but I just haven't done it yet. Yeah, I agree with you though. I think that there's an energy that is spread across everything, and humans are just basically a focusing point for this energy. It's like, if you can actually get your mind to a certain point, you can let that energy bleed through you, and then you can like hear the word of God, or you can do what you're actually meant to do on this planet.
Also, people that are super atheists, I think that's not good either, because you're kind of being an asshole and saying there's nothing out there. I think agnostics are actually probably the most open-minded people, because they're like, who knows, maybe. But if you look at a map of the Earth on the solar system, we're kind of like in the butt crack of the Milky Way solar system. Like, we're way out there. So if there's like gods or energies or aliens, like, they don't know about us. We're all the way in the corner. Okay.
Yeah. Do you think there's like other dimensions?
Yes. Oh, hell yeah.
So then maybe there is a creature that knows about us. We can't even perceive it.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too, is like even our senses, right? So we're very kind of narcissistic as humans. We're like, okay, well, I see black there and I see this. There's millions of colors all around us that we can't perceive with the human eye. Like, Einstein talks about different vibrations that we can't, like, this table is hard because there's a certain vibrational energy that is compact, right, with the atoms and stuff like that. But like dogs can hear sounds that we can't hear. There's certain animals that have different like mosquitoes, they can see our heat waves. Mm-hmm. So just because we can't see it or hear it doesn't mean it's not there. There's literally millions of amoebas on my arm right now. I can't see
Gross.
them. Yeah, gross, right? And so humans were kind of like dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. Even cats, like imagine the way they see time. Like their reaction time is so quick. Like we probably are moving in slow motion to them all the time. Like that's something else is nuts. Gnats, flies, things, the same thing, man. They see time so much faster than we do. It's crazy.
They're like, those humans are really slow and dumb.
Yeah.
My dog has felt earthquakes before I even knew, knew rainstorms was coming before I knew it, because they have that.
They can probably hear them, honestly.
They have external, like hearing and smell that we don't have.
Yeah, I think we can hear up to 20,000 and hertz or whatever, and they can hear 60,000. So it's like three times.
We're very slow.
Yeah.
So there's definitely dimensions out there. I think again, like I said, was atheist for many years. A lot of things changed too. My dad died, and I had a girlfriend from high school that was like, I'm a medium. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. And then she knew shit about my dad that she shouldn't have known. So I was like, okay, maybe there's some shit out there. So there's a lot of things that have happened to me in my life that have made me become a little more open-minded to what could be out there.
What do you think the medium thing's about?
I think that we're all energy.
Right.
So my dad, was an energy, and he just left this physical body, and maybe he, his energy went in her and gave her some info. I don't know.
Yeah. I have this like wild theory. This is one of the things I tell the NPCs that I'm around. But out of body experiences.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
my dad, I'll tell you about that after. My dad had a couple before he died.
Yeah. So out of body experiences, right? And then you think about the human body, and you're basically just electrical signals inside of a meat suit, right? Okay. So if you actually find where the magnetic field lines are on the earth, you can use electromagnetic coupling, and that's how you ride the energy out of the body. You basically couple to one of the energy of the magnetic field lines on earth, and then you go ahead out of body experience.
I have never heard of that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing when you die. Like if you actually, if you're in tune with this about your body, you can ride that electromagnetic field line up and go somewhere else if you want to. Even coupling with the sun, because the Earth is actually connected to the sun with the magnetic field lines.
So what you mentioned, I'll say that, and then I'll talk about my dad's near-death experience. So first of all, that's again basic science.
Yeah.
My sister was in medical school for a couple semesters before she failed out. And that's something that they teach you in medical school, is that the human body is a conduit for electricity. And that's actually what our thoughts are. So when your thoughts move from like your brain and tell your arm to move, it's sending an electrical signal. And so that's what we are. Like you said, we're an electrical body. So we are an energy. It sounds hippy dippy, but that's what we are scientifically.
Yeah.
My dad had died several times before he actually died. In 2006, he had prostate cancer, and he physically died for 2 seconds. He had something happen. Me and my sisters were at the hospital, and we were actually there when it happened. He was proclaimed dead for like his heart stopped, his brain stopped and everything. And then he came back. Just
for prostate cancer?
So he had some type of complication that happened, and I don't know I don't recall. I apologize. I don't know the details, but he basically was physically dead for a couple seconds. And he said that he left his body and he felt his energy leave. He was at a hospital uptown, and his energy, he said, went all the way down to the Mississippi River. And then something told him it's not your time, and he went back. He then died a second time in 2001 for a couple seconds again. And he woke up from that. His heart stopped. He was physically dead, came back, and he told us the same thing, that it was a similar experience. And if you look up near-death experiences of people that have physically died and come back, they all say we're an energy. And he said he left his body. He could hear us crying. He could see us, and then he came back.
So what about the second time? Was he near water again?
The second time he died, he was at Oshner, and I don't remember what happened. He didn't go that far. He just left his body and was floating above us, and he could hear us and see us. And then he came back his spirit came back into his body.
So some of the other experiences that I've had with meditation, I used to meditate by Bayou St. John, and I'd go there every day and meditate, and I would be having these out of body experiences, and I was near the body of water. And some of the research that I did actually said that, yeah, you can actually ride the water out of your body. So you can like couple to that too.
Yeah. I've never died.
Well, I don't think it's, I mean, your dad obviously died, but I think the dying is just the release of the energy. Like that's an automatic release, but I think you can actually do that without dying. If you meditate and slow your heart rate and stuff down enough, I think that you can actually leave your body, but still keep the body alive.
I know when I did ayahuasca, I left my body and I came back.
Yeah, it's another one of those things. It's like you're physically or you force yourself out.
But here's the thing too, which is so the interesting thing about ayahuasca. So ayahuasca and mushrooms releases DMT.
Mm-hmm.
It stimulates the DMT, but I don't think it contains DMT. It stimulates the DMT in your brain that already exists, and it releases it. Right. So DMT is also released when you die.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
and when you reach certain states of meditation, which is what I think I was doing.
So that's a very interesting scientific fact. I don't know what to do with it, but it's just interesting that we have that chemical in our brain already. It's like, what is the purpose of it? You know?
Right. Yeah. No, certain monks can release it during meditation. I was practicing their meditation techniques. And I think that's why I was having those experiences at that time.
When you're out of body.
Yes. But then I had some like crazy fucking experiences. And I was like, I need to stop doing this. So now I still meditate, but I don't push myself like I was then.
Till you're like floating out of your body.
Yeah, I don't go that far anymore. I mean, I'm talking some like crazy experiences where like things were coming at me.
Yeah. I had it one time and one time only, and I've never been able to have it again. It was
ayahuasca.
It wasn't on ayahuasca. It was through meditation, and it was and it was higher than any ayahuasca or mushrooms I've ever done. And it was on accident. I just found some YouTube meditation. It was like a psychedelic YouTube. It's a psychedelic YouTube meditation. And I had put the earbuds in, and I went so bizarrely out of my body in such a weird state. And it was so crazy. I've never experienced anything like that. And then when I got back in, and I was like, but this is the creepy thing. And it's going to sound cheesy. I could not find that YouTube video again. It wasn't in my history. It wasn't. I'm like, what is going on here? But I definitely left my body, and I was in a state where I felt like I was physically on drugs. Yeah. And I was totally sober.
Have you, there's like some document out there. It's like a CIA declassified document where they talk about out of body experiences and things like this. Have you? I
haven't, but the CIA's doing all, like, they released like that there was aliens and nobody even said anything about it. They released all sorts of like unclassified shit recently, and people were just like, whatever.
So the one that I'm specifically referring to is called the Gateway Experience. Mm-hmm. And I highly recommend reading it. It's like a paper that they wrote on these experiments they were doing. And it basically talks about meditating, getting to a certain state of consciousness where you can leave your body. And they talk about how there's like the different dimensions of consciousness. And when you get to a certain one, you can actually exit.
Well, you know, the government is actually the one who funded all of this DMT research in the 60s. So a lot of people don't know that ayahuasca, ecstasy, mushrooms, all of the stuff, the government was researching it in the 1960s for mind control purposes and as a possible weapon. And also psychology schools were studying it for possible distress and depression relief.
R.I.P. Charles Manson. Yeah. So there's a book out there. It's I forget the name of the book. I have it at the house. But it's not his Helter Skelter book. There's another book about it. And this book basically lays out all the facts of what happened then. It's not written in a biased fashion. And you almost feel sorry for that guy for what the government and all of them did when with the research they were doing, because they were basically opening up these clinics in California, and they were giving these hippies, and Charles Manson was one of them. They were giving them all the LSD and all the amphetamines they wanted, just loading them up with amphetamines and testing them. Yeah. And then he was so smart that he actually figured out, oh shit, this is what they're doing. So then he just started doing it for himself, and that's how he like manipulated those people to do whatever he wanted them to do.
Oh, with LSD.
Yeah, he was loading up with LSD and amphetamines and then saying, yo, I'm God. Like, listen to what I say.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's basically the same. He just did the same thing they were doing to him.
But yeah, so the government was doing all this research. A lot of universities were doing this research. And then for whatever reason, I think they were getting into scary territory and they shut it down. They did that too. They were doing a lot of research on monkeys to see if we could interbreed with monkeys or do cloning and stuff like that. And then I think shit got real and they're like, okay, let's stop. This is unethical.
I wonder what happened there. They create some like monkey human hybrid.
I don't know. But I mean, a lot of this stuff, it happened. The 60s were a crazy time. A lot of people were on drugs. So
what makes you wonder like what they're doing today that we don't know about, you know?
Oh, there's all sorts of stuff happening, I'm sure.
It's terrifying.
Or amazing.
it's amazing if it's used for good. But I don't think that dosing people on LSD and amphetamines has ever been a really good thing to do.
I don't think it was a ethical thing to do, but they did get a lot of research about the human psyche and about those medications.
Watch out now, because now we're looking at Nazi Germany right now, because we got a lot of good information from them too.
We did, and we don't know what that information is being used for, but things can also be used for good or evil, so it just depends.
Yes, but should we?
Well, we'll find out in the next 5 years when the robots take over.
Honestly, that may be a good thing. I don't know. Like, if you get one that's actually consciously aware, then it may go, look, you guys are the fucking problem. Like, all the shit you've done through the years has been your own doing. So now it's time to eradicate. I don't know. You think it would keep anyone if we had an AI that looked at us and went back through history and was like, golly, man.
Well, unfortunately, the AI, I think, their programming would be modeled from a human, because they do take their instructions or original programming, even if they overturn us, off of human psychology and human mentality and human program. The programmers would have to be human first.
Okay.
So.
But then two AIs programmed by humans come together and go, hey, let's make another one, a better one.
But the original code is always going to be off of humans. So, and that's a problem because humans are imperfect.
I think everything's imperfect, right? Even computers, like these phones fuck up sometimes. Like, you're never going to have a perfect thing.
I think that's why a lot of people are afraid to put the Neuralink in their brain, even though.
Oh, I'm definitely not doing that. No way. Even if they're like, it'll make you live to be 500. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm just going to I'm going to go dig my own grave.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, the technology that I'm the most excited about is the DNA sequencing. So we're about 15 years away from DNA sequencing. And what that does is it is literally the fountain of youth. So right now, if you break your arm, you set a cast and your body heals itself, right? But with the DNA sequencing, you break your arm and then you would inject your arm with your own DNA, but it would be sequenced, and then it would just heal itself super fast and be all brand new like a baby. So
basically it renews the telomere length?
Yes. It renews yourself with yourself.
Right.
Well, with a younger, better, fresher version of yourself. And it's actually, they've already found it. It's proven. It's here.
Is that, the millionaire that spends like $2 million a year trying to reverse his aging?
I follow him.
So he just did like some new procedure in some other country.
No, I know exactly what he did. It's Brian Johnson. He went to the Bahamas and he did, he injected himself with, what is the baby?
The stem cells?
Stem cells, yes.
Okay.
He injected himself with stem cells.
Was it his own stem cells or actually a baby stem cell?
It's his stem cells or possibly baby stem cells, but that is a cousin to the DNA sequencing. The DNA sequencing is superior in, because so the DNA sequencing has already been done. It's proven whatever. They just need to do 10 to 15 years of human testing, and then the FDA can approve them. So it's already here. It's just not available. Which
that's insane that it needs 10 years, because we just fast tracked a fucking vaccine that no one knows what's going to happen. You know, like if one's already been proven and the other one was fast tracked,
well,
make it make sense.
One was from a virus and one is just to make me look hot. So
I don't know. I don't anything they tell me, I'm like, yeah, I'm not listening to you. It's so insane.
So I did get the vaccine and I got the booster, but I kind of regret it now because I'm like, okay, was it just like what was in that vaccine?
Yeah. Have you researched that at all?
I'm scared too. So when I grow my third arm out of my head,
I mean, you may need the DNA sequencing. Who knows who knows what's in that shit? So there was a paper that I read, and this was one of the main reasons that I was like, I'm not getting this shit. A guy named Rudolf Steiner came across with a paper. Rudolf Steiner died in 1910 or some shit like that. But he has a body of work that's massive. I started diving into his work. And one of the papers that he wrote there was a quote in there that I read, and it said, we'll soon have a vaccine that cuts the human being off from the soul. And I was like, that's fucking wild. So I read the entire paper, and it's fascinating. It's a fascinating paper. I have it if you want me to send it to you. But then I've read several of his books since then as well. The guy was on another fucking level talking about like the human and the human spirit and stuff. And I was like, maybe he is onto something. Because right after he died was when like the first massive vaccine went out all across the world.
Tesla talks about that too, about the human energy and the human spirit and stuff. Like Tesla was literally a genius, but he also talked to birds. So people thought he was crazy, but maybe he was just ahead of his time.
Yeah. So one of the things that Steiner says in his books is that that in order for the human being to actually connect to their soul, they have to have a pure vessel, and to have a pure vessel.
I'm fucked.
Yeah, so it means not drinking, not being sick, like being supremely healthy. So it normally happens when you're a child. But what do we do as soon as a kid pops out of the womb?
Vaccination.
Shove them full of vaccines. And a lot of the vaccines are causing just like allergies and things. So if you have a lifetime allergy, that's keeping you from being a pure vessel for your entire life.
Well, here's the creepy thing is sometimes kids say things that you're like, okay, I'll give you an example. So my niece, she's 14 now, but when she was born about a week before my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So she was about 2 years old and I was showing her pictures from the wedding. And I said, here's me, here's Aunt Rosie, here's you, you're a little baby. And she's like, oh yeah, I actually asked God if I could be born early so I could go to your wedding. What? Where would a little kid get that from?
Right. Did you get chills when she said it?
It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And then of course she's older now. She has no memory of it.
Right.
But children say things. I mean, there's been children who have said things about past lives, about other things. And you're like, where did you get that information? And then there was like a little kid that said something that he said he was a reincarnated XYZ. And his parents were like, what are you talking about? And they looked up that person and it was a real person who had died in the 1800s. It's creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the story you're talking about. It's insane.
So maybe they are more of a pure energy that maybe has come from another world or another dimension.
And they're still getting like memories from back whenever they were before or something.
My friend, Koji, he did a past life regression and he had psychic dreams or dreams when he was a little kid that didn't make any sense. And then he had a dream that he was some person, or when he did the past life regression, he had memories that he was this person. And then he looked up the person and it was like a real person.
I did the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I listened to a YouTube video one day. It's like when YouTube first came out. It was like 2008 or something. YouTube might have been out before that, but it was really long ago. Anyway, I was in my apartment in Little Rock, Arkansas one night.
Is that where you're from?
No, I'm from northeast Arkansas, a small town. But I was living there at the time in Little Rock, and just in my apartment alone one night, and I was like kind of depressed. So I listened to this video and I was like, let me just see what happens. And I ended up falling asleep and exiting my body and going to this place. And it was like this beautiful, almost like, you know what Pandora looks like in the movie?
Yes.
It was like that, but it was before Pandora ever even came out. But it's like this beautiful place, waterfall and everything. And then this like really tall guy, taller than me, walked up to me and like started talking to me. And I can't remember anything that we said in the conversation, but I remember that he told me that it was me, that he was me. And then I just woke back up. We had this entire conversation though.
What's crazy? Do you have psychic dreams?
I don't know. What does that mean? Like
having a dream and then of something insignificant, but maybe it comes true later, or having deja vus.
So I'll tell you, I have creepy dreams. Yes. But it's hard to, I guess, interpret them. But one night I had a dream about, I was actually in bed next to one of my exes. And this dream that I was in, I woke up in my grandma's house, which is a place that we've both been to before. And I walked over to this little girl that was crying, like 9 years old. She was crying. And then I walked around the corner and she had this mask on. Didn't have a clue what the mask was at all. But then her cat rubbed up against my leg because I was going to approach the girl and be like, you okay? And the cat led me away from her. And then I started looking up things later and I realized that was an Oni mask. You know what Oni is? Oni's a Japanese demon. And this Japanese demon was beat by her husband and then thrown in the river and died, and then came back as like a man-eating a demon. And I think that I never asked her this. We ended up splitting up though. But I think that something happened to her when she was a young kid that caused her to have some issues. And I think whatever that is, the psychic dreams or subconscious, whatever was happening, was giving me the information that I needed to either walk away or try to deal with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the dream world has some power to it. I have deja vus all the time and it's really creepy. And I also have had psychic dreams. I had a dream when I was 13 that I was in a courthouse and I was watching a trial. And in the trial, this guy was being, something with marijuana, and the marijuana was in the seat. And that's how he got convicted. And then I was 12 or 13 when this happened, and then never would have known. A couple months later, we had a school field trip to the courthouse and we sat in on a trial, and that was the trial. And I knew exactly what was going to happen. It was the same guy with the marijuana, and I was a little kid, and I was like, the marijuana is going to be in the seat. And
Okay.
it was in the seat.
Okay. Let me pitch you this then.
And I was like, what the heck is going on? So like I said, I was atheist for many years, but shit like that made me turn spiritual.
Oh no. So let me pitch you this. Let's put it in a scientific manner. Okay. So what is time?
Time is a construct.
Okay. Time is literally just the planets moving through space, following the sun, right? Okay, that's time. So the sun is actually spinning around the center of the galaxy, right? Okay, so there's a black hole in the center, sun spinning around it. That's time. So time is moving in a cyclical fashion. So when I was talking about writing the magnetic field lines, okay, so one of the things you can do if time is literally just the sun moving through space is if you leave your body at night when you're sleeping, and you ride the magnetic field lines and you actually go in front of the sun, then you're actually going through time. You're going forward in time, and then you're coming back. So what if you were just doing that? What if you were just going forward in time?
You mean during my dream?
During your dream, yes. And then coming back to your body, and then you were actually seeing what was in the future. Is that, can you get a grasp what I'm saying? I grasp
what you're saying, but have you read the book A Wrinkle in Time?
No.
Okay. I don't know, because I don't know if there's different dimensions. Then that starts to question our control of things. Are we living multiple timelines at the same time? If you make a choice here, do you change this timeline? So
if you take a telescope and shine it to the other side of the galaxy, then there should be a planet there, planet Earth there, that has dinosaurs on it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's just like us moving through time, right? So maybe you are just going through the future and coming back with knowledge.
During dreams,
yeah. I don't know. It's crazy things to think about. I love to get high and like go through these thought experiments. It's like my favorite thing to do. It's almost like I can think parallel when I'm high, where right now I'm just thinking linearly.
Well, maybe the THC releases a certain aspect of your brain.
Maybe.
Because so I speak French very badly, but when I'm on ecstasy, I speak French really, really, really well. And I think there's a part of my brain that is not in full use when
so like unlocks that part of your brain?
I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I studied French for many years, but I struggle with it. But I think language is a different part of your brain.
Yeah. Rosie, you got anything else you want to talk about? I actually want to ask you about your OnlyFans before we get off here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you said you had a funny story about that. I think it's pretty amazing that you have an OnlyFans as well. But yeah, what's your story about it?
I said I had a boring story about it.
Boring story. Okay, yeah.
So nothing. I just got into modeling late. I was actually very unattractive growing up. I had acne, braces. I was really nerdy. And I always wanted to model, but I was scared. And when I was 25, my friend Svetlana, who was Russian, was like, you should start modeling. And I'm like, I'm 25. I'm way too old to model. And she's like, you should start modeling. So I did. And basically one of my other friends who was a comedian was like, you should start an OnlyFans. And I was like, I wanted to do OnlyFans for a long time, like before it got really popular. Like because when I first heard of OnlyFans was years ago when they first started. And I read an article, and there was this Russian model who was making $10 million a year on OnlyFans. And I had never heard of her. And I was like, this bitch is making $10 million on OnlyFans. So I wanted to do it. My husband was like, absolutely not because he's controlling or not because he didn't want me to. So I'm very sensitive and I'm very emotional. And he was concerned about men harassing me on there.
Right.
And he was concerned about my mental health more than me showing off stuff, because I actually have a modeling portfolio online and things like that. And so he was really concerned about my mental health. He's like, there's a lot of creepy guys out there. He's like, they can message you. He goes, I'm just really worried about you having mental health issues from it. And so I was like, okay. But then my girlfriend was like, you need to do it. You need to do it. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to out her private shit. But my girlfriend started doing an OnlyFans. I'm not making this much, but she was making $10,000 a month. I was like, dang. So I had already been posting my modeling photos on Instagram for free and I wasn't getting any money for them. So I'm like, F it, I'm going to start an OnlyFans. So I started it and I just was posting the pictures that I was posting for free. And I started making money, not a crazy ton of money like my friend, but I was making some money for it. And it did make me feel like I was getting some value for all the time that I spent modeling. And I don't show any nude. I just do implied and lingerie or what's called lifestyle, which is basically like cute and sexy, but nothing too crazy. Like basically I would show my mom my OnlyFans and I wouldn't be embarrassed. But I have 2 other girlfriends that are comedians on OnlyFans. They get a lot of creeps. And I have to say, my OnlyFans, I love you guys, are actually really sweet and respectful. I never get dick pics. I don't think I've ever gotten a dick pic on there.
Well, now you're going to get them. Yeah.
Don't send them.
You just set yourself up.
Don't send them to me. All of my fans are really respectful and nice. I actually really love my OnlyFans. They're really sweet. Sometimes I chat with them. And I think because my content is actually not that risque, that I get more people that aren't as creepy.
Yeah.
And I think because I'm old, I'm 40, so I get a lot of older people. So that the ones that we're hoping will die soon.
Gotta get them out of the way. Gotta get them away for new ideas.
So yeah. So yes, I have an OnlyFans. It's onlyfans.com/funnyrosie.
Nice. And they can find all these links on your Instagram.
Yeah, go on my Instagram and I have a link tree and I have a link to my half-hour special, my OnlyFans, all my comedy stuff. So
well, I greatly enjoyed the conversation today. I didn't expect it to go as far as it did through crypto and stuff, but yeah, you're a wealth of knowledge, and I look forward to having another one in the future.
Yeah, I think I just have so many random interests.
Yeah. No, I think that's what more humans should do. Like, there's so much out there to explore. Like, why just go down one road? Explore it all.
I know you had messaged me. You're like, what should we talk about? I'm like, we'll be talking for hours.
Yeah. No, I can literally do that. Rosie, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you so much.